So today I would like to talk about, give you a very short talk on benefits of using AI-based reading progress tool incorporated in Microsoft Teams for enhancing speaking fluency and pronunciation, in particularly for students who study EAP or English for academic purposes when they prepare for their presentation. So I would try to unveil the reasons why I have chosen this topic and why I have been experimenting with Microsoft Teams reading progress for, well, about 3 months now. First of all, there are many reasons why we should be reading aloud, although we have been reading silently for some reason, I don't know why, and reading aloud has been studied since ancient times and the benefits of it have been proven. The other thing that I'd like to give you is a couple of tips about how to create assessment in reading progress, which is a free AI tool, and I think it's accessible to all of us who use Microsoft 365. And lastly, I'd like to just point out a couple of pedagogical implications for our learners, our teachers, and particularly for teachers of English for academic purposes. So first of all, let's start from the benefits of reading aloud. The benefits of reading aloud that you see on this slide are actually the benefits that we usually relate to children, but there are so many benefits for adults and grown-up learners if they read aloud, and there have been many studies in the recent years. But first of all, language development helps us to improve the vocabulary, grammar, and comprehension. There is memory improvement, and there is also improvement in brain activity and visual memory of the vocabulary. There is a confidence built and self-esteem. Of course, the most important part with the cognitive development is part of critical thinking. But what is reading progress tool can help us as well is to improve speech and pronunciation skills and how the students feel the words in their mouth, how do they breathe, which I should be doing now, make pauses and train their muscles. So when you think about academic skills, it is important that students are prepared for their presentations, which are academic in form, but they don't have much practice and they don't like practicing very much sometimes, but they tend to write their speeches. So I thought reading progress might help them. So since I have been introduced to it, I have been looking at what are the benefits for my students. This AI-powered assessment tool, it's not a real assessment, it's a task tool, enables us to analyze students' errors, and I wouldn't call them errors, I would rather call them mistakes. The second thing that this tool can help us is to individualize and personalize reading practice, and we can we can track their progress as well. After tracking their progress, we can look at the accuracy rate. And I have to say here that I think about intelligibility rate. I'm not really thinking about 100% being accurate. Also looking at the challenging words and words spoken per minute, particular phonics and sounds. And within the reading progress, there are 2 more tools called Reading Coach that help students to look at repeat and practice the most difficult word and most challenging words, and they can use immersive reading that is already included in Microsoft Word and other Microsoft tools and features. So once you get your Microsoft Teams, you have your team, you go to assignments and you click create. So then there are lots of steps that you can follow from Microsoft Learn and Education, but what I would like to stress here, once you decide what kind of reading text you want to provide for your students, the first thing you do is to click Attach, create a new assignment. And then you would like, to select the attachment, but this is the, I think, catch-22. What kind of reading you want to attach? I think it's more important to use your own sources and to provide a model for students to listen before they read, so they could listen to recording. then you ask them to practice reading and then record their reading, and they can use reading coach to help with difficult words. But the text that you attach, it would be good to have marks for pausing and also maybe highlighted words or taught groups. So that's something that I think it's more important. It's very easy to follow the instructions how to create a word, whether you create a reading progress, whether you want what levels you want to use, how many times you want them to practice, how many minutes, and so on. But another key component that is important, it is once you have attached your document, that you can edit the document and choose the language or variation of English that your students will be reading, that auto-detect or artificial intelligence tool will detect your students reading. So as you can see in the screen, I have set it up for English Australia. And this is the sample that I actually set up on 12th of June. And I was so surprised that my students who were having a public holiday and not being in school, they actually practiced this. So that's for me rather encouraging. And once you have set up your assignment, you will be able to see it under the assignment like upcoming or some that are ready to grade or past due, and whether you want to reuse them. So this brings me to the next part of it, how to do the feedback. And I think the feedback and what students use the feedback for is the most important part. So on the left-hand side, you can see assignment is ready. It's a June 11th, as I was talking about, not 12th. And then how many students have viewed it or turned it in the meantime. This is an example of this very short 28 seconds reading that I have provided to students with the listening model, which had the pauses. So the students practiced that, then recorded, but she also practiced words through using the reading coach. So you can see two particular mispronunciation, but if I decide to not use auto-detect or use the artificial intelligence tool, I can switch it off. I can change sensitivity and listen to my students' recording. And this is what I did in this example. So the students had a text which was really about problem solution presentations, and I really want them to learn how to start the problem solution presentation, use particular set of vocabulary and phrases. And I first looked at the report that was given by automated tool, and then I noticed that the accuracy rate was 91, but I did still want to listen. So I listened, and I noticed there are a couple of other words that may not be pronounced well, and then I would be looking at that. The last thing I would do, I would check the progress of my students over the time, and I can also decide which kind of feedback I would like to give to my students. Does my student need everything, a video, a mark passage, an error summary, or I would like to simplify the report and give them maybe just a part of it, students' video and mark passage, or I can customize to that level that I just give them the report on a particular area that I want them to focus. It could be the pausing, which I should be doing now, or breathing or something, or it could be a prosody. So the student, I can return it with the report, but I can also ask students to return for revision if I think there is a good reason to do that. And this is where I would probably write my individual feedback. So there is another point that reading progress can give you. The reading progress can give you class insights. It can give you individual students insight, but it can give you the reading accuracy. In this case, for me, important things is about this future speaking in the presentation, which is academic in style. We can look at a couple of words. Well, there are more of this because I have done about half a dozen of different texts and different lengths. And I can see how the particular student is doing. What are the most challenging words from my class? And maybe I need to do some preparation for this reading progress, or teach the targeted pronunciation topic, or maybe pausing or intonation or whatever I think it would be, because I can look how the accuracy rate, and I again stress that for me, this is about intelligibility and them being able to stop, to breathe and pause and be ready to present and get confidence in front of the screen, in front of their friends and classmates, but also to practice in the environment which is friendly for them, and that's practice at home. So finally, I could choose to create a phonic assignment, individual assignment, and this is depending how well they have done so far, but this class has been doing very well, and you can see the changes in the rates. So what is missing in the reading progress? Well, what it's missing is a prosody feature. Apparently, Microsoft announced that in late this spring, they will introduce a new feature, which is a prosody feature. And if this happens, I think it will help us to work on music of English language and the rhythm and intonation. But it doesn't really say when it's going to be introduced in Southern Hemisphere. And last thing it's happening is that they will be introducing also comprehension questions. So we'll have two sides of this reading progress, and we will be able to assess and help them and support them with their readings, but also assess and help them with their speaking and promote their confidence and self-esteem. So that would be everything that I have done. So today I talked to you about the reason why I think reading aloud should be introduced again in our classrooms, even if it means reading aloud and recording instead of like we used to do with Buckaroos, and I used to spend hours giving students feedback, pronunciation feedback. This is what I think it's streamlining our work, as we heard from our plenary speaker. It's taking work overload from us. But most importantly, my students are very motivated, very happy about it. There was only one student who felt a little bit anxious about it, even although she was doing it at home, but she's that kind of person. Yeah. But I see her improvement. So there are many benefits. And I think pedagogical implications are that we should be training our students shortly in the classroom, do a little bit of flipped reading progress in the in an IA environment, and then start looking at the results. So that's all that I have for today. I hope I didn't go over time.
Thank you, Svetlana. Thank you for those links that you're sharing there as well. I can see a lot of great feedback in the chat there. And Sophie has also put the link for the Facebook page. So if you haven't joined the Facebook, everyone, I'm sure Svetlana would be happy to answer your questions there as well.